Good morning, Scribes. I'm sorry we had to cancel our class this morning, but with all the news on the coronavirus and then hearing that Nancy had been in the hospital last night, she's fine. She got home about 3 o'clock in the morning and apparently she's fine, but she said it's a war zone, it's a terrible place, and none of us want to be there. And then with poor Amber, all the schools closed down late last night. Her kids are at home, so obviously she can't go anywhere, and I know that the school closures are going to affect other people. Anyway, and then as you all know, I am a high risk patient. I have dealt with respiratory issues and I live with cancer, so the doctors would prefer I don't put myself in high risk situations. And since we don't know if being together in our cozy library room is a high risk situation, I decided to use an abundance of caution. So I apologize for canceling early this morning. Hopefully you all got the message, and hopefully you'll take the time to write instead of just roaming around the city and finding a place to have coffee, or go have that coffee and sit and write in a coffee shop. So I thought I'd share with you some of what we were going to work on today. We were going to begin, and this is from a class that I taught at a community college. And so I'll just read you the bio for the class. Anyway, we're going to start working on short stories, and we're going to write some short stories in class for those of you who want to, and if you don't, you can continue to work on your novel. But the aspects of writing short story that we're going to be working on influence your novel writing and enhance your novel writing, and certainly can sharpen those skills as well. The short story tightens all the fundamental components of writing in a distinctive way that exposes the essence of a story. Writers are going to learn to be very selective in the words you choose, because when you're writing a short story, you don't get to go on in your exposition. And one reason I started writing short stories a long time ago was that I realized when I wrote my first novel that I had exposition disease. It was really hard for me to cut the words that I just got so attached to. And so I started writing some short stories in order to really fine-tune my skills. And I was stunned when I won a flash fiction contest and then another short story contest, and I thought, okay, maybe shorter can be better sometimes, less is more. So that's kind of the way that I've used short story writing, was to help me get a handle on my exposition disease. My first novel should have been about 80 pages shorter, and I haven't confessed that before, so you would be the first. Anyway, you really got to be careful about the words that you choose. The words and concepts can always be expanded into a longer, more in-depth piece. So you might be writing a short story and it ends up becoming a novella or even a novel, or it might replace scenes in your novel. We'll focus on the 5 basic elements in any story, and that's dialogue, plot, character, setting, and the meaning behind the story. You might want to start a new story in class and flesh it out as the weeks go past. I think that could be fun for some of you. And torture for others, but hey, it's a writing class. There'll be weekly writing worksheets. You know me, I do bring my worksheets, and some exercising. We're going to do some exercises, not exercising. Hopefully you do that after class. We're going to do some workshopping. That's the critiquing that we've been doing, for those who desire, of course. And there'll be lots of writing time in class, especially writing time in class while we're working on these short stories. So bring your pen and paper and be ready to work. Short stories are just an absolutely beautiful storytelling form. They've been around forever, and they'll be around forever. In case you're confused about what a short story is, a traditional short story is 1,500 to 5,000 words. A flash fiction story is 500 to 1,000. That flash fiction contest that I won with Writer's Digest was 750 words. I was stunned that I could tell a story that short, as I can be verbose both verbally and in my writing. Anyway, a microfiction is 5 to 350 words. And anyway, we will cover those more in detail in class. I had mentioned last week the beautiful beginning of a story by Lauren Groff called Delicate Edible Birds. So I'm just going to read you the first paragraph and let you decipher why I thought that was beautiful, and we'll go over some of those. And when we get back to class, after everybody figures out what this coronavirus situation is, and if we are or are not safe in our cozy little room at the library, please bring some short stories. It's just the beginnings of them. Let's look at beginnings right now, and let me know why, or let us know why you like the particular story that you bring. So I'm going to read this one right now by Lauren Groff. Because it had rained, and the rain had caught the black soot of the factories as they burned, Paris in the dark seemed covered by a dusky skin, almost as though it were living. The arches in the facades were the curve of a throat. The street corners' elbows and the silenced burn could almost hear the warm thumpings of some heart deep beneath the residue of civilizations. Perhaps it was always there, but only audible now, in the dinless, abandoned city. As the last of the evacuees spun through the streets on their bicycles, they cast the puddles up into great wings of dark water behind them. Paris seemed so gentle as it awaited the Germans. The visual aspects of this first paragraph with the angel, the dark angel wings and the arches looking like a throat. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. I will bring copies of this to class so y'all can read it if you want to, but you can also find it online, a PDF of it. And again, it's Lauren Groff, Delicate Edible Birds. It's a wonderful, wonderful story. And she lets us know, where we are right off. She gives us a real beautiful color of what I call, literary color in a story. And she lets us know Paris seemed so gentle as it awaited the Germans. So we know what era we're talking about. We already know what the conflict is. So it's just a beautiful, absolutely beautiful story. So there's another one, and if you write short stories or novels or write anything or just enjoy reading, you should take a look at the OHenry Prize stories that come out every year. This is 2018 from when I went to the literary fair, but there was some great ones in here. You can see I've done what I do with Post-its and scribbling all over the books. So don't do that at home, children. Only old women can do that. Anyway, I loved the beginning of this one. There's a couple of them in here but I'm going to leave you with this one so you don't have to listen to me for too long on your day off. This one is by an author, Joanne Beard, and the name of the story is The Tomb of Wrestling. She struck her attacker in the head with a shovel, a small one, but that she normally kept in the trunk of her car for moving things off the highway. There was a certain time of year in upstate New York when the turtles left their reedy ponds to crawl ponderously through the countryside and wound up strewn like pottery shards across the road. The box turtles Joan could pick up with her hands. This was the shovel she had purchased to move the snappers to the ditches. Luckily, she had taken it from her trunk in order to straighten out her compost situation. The barrel stank so terribly that her neighbor had mentioned it, and a aerobic smell of digestion of tomatoes and corn cobs and coffee grounds combining to form such a bright, sharp stink that the neighbor who lived down the road and was loaning her a gutter cleaning attachment for her hose suggested Joan start alternating small shovelfuls of soil with each bucket of food scraps. So the shovel was leaned up against the side of the house, right next to the kitchen door, a few inches of its business buried in a torn, open 50-pound bag of peat slumped on its side. Anyway, I'm going to stop it right there. But with the beginning of this, she starts out with conflict, right? She struck her attacker in the head with a shovel. Okay, we're in the scene. This is a character who's in trouble, which is how you should start a short story. But then she goes into all this description about why she's got that shovel and for the moving of the turtles, and now she's got a compost situation on it, and all of these things without describing Joan or whoever the character is, without describing the character in any way, shape, or form. We know who this is. This woman's a gardener. This woman is responsible to the environment. She has turtles to help. She has things to get off of the road. We know who this woman is. We can kind of picture her in our own imaginations. And I love that because this happens without a description. It's beautiful. And it's a beautiful setup for this character. This story is fascinating. So if you get a chance to read it, do. It's by Joanne Beard, The Tomb of Wrestling. Her setup with this is absolutely fabulous. I won't bore you with, or not boring you, I won't entertain you with any more of it, but I will in class. Anyway, I just wanted to inspire you just a little bit to take a look at some short stories and think about writing short stories and what kind of ideas you might want to bring to class and work on in class. So I am going to take some writing time today. I've made myself a nice cappuccino and some cookies, and I'm going to write. So I hope you do the same. Thanks.